again. Today was a very good day. It was raining, and the rain envelopes the house and makes it so quiet. No dogs outside barking, no people with their power tools making noise. I like quiet, and now I have my soup cooking on the stove. It smells so good. I burned sage, and I'm prepared to make this video. Today I want to read from this book that I've written a while back, Tales of Hank. These are tales, and I made drawings. I illustrated it. Here you can see I did it myself, and these are tales, but they're actually tales for adults. I hope you like them. And today I'm gonna read the very first tale of this book. Which is called The Tale of the Six-Fingered Boy Who Had the Magic to Turn Things Beautiful, and a Curious Girl Who Freed His Magic. Once upon a time, in a town called Gorod, there lived a husband and wife who loved children, but did not have their own child for a long, long time. Finally, one day, the wife told her husband that she was with a child. So here she is. The wife and the husband, and she has a little baby in her tummy. Their joy was so big, they celebrated and started to prepare baby clothes and a cradle right away. In due time, the baby was born, a boy, and the happy parents could not let their loving gaze wander off his tiny face. They called him Hank and held him in their arms for a long, long time. And here is the little baby in the cradle, sucking on his thumb, and the parents watching him with love. Hank was so precious to his parents that even though his hands had 6 fingers instead of 5, he looked perfect to them. As their world was so brightened up with Hank's arrival, it seemed to them that everything the little boy touched turned beautiful. They were well aware that a 6-fingered baby was an abnormality, that other people might not feel the same love and admiration towards Hank. So they decided not to show the baby to anybody. The father built a high fence around their house, and the mother happily stayed home with Hank all the time. 3 years passed. Neighbors and family got more and more curious about what was going on behind that high fence of theirs, and the father decided to seek help with a community elder who knew everything and everybody around. So here's this funny guy in his robe. It's the elder. As he entered the elder's home, the elder said, "I am so excited that you are here finally. I know all the rumors about you and your family, that you had a baby, that something went terribly wrong, that you are hiding something about it. So glad you decided to come to me to talk about it, because that's what I assume you came for." The father sighed deeply in sadness and said, "Indeed, a beautiful baby boy was delivered into this world by my wife 3 years ago. He is perfect to us, but he has 6 fingers on each hand. So we did not want people pointing at that, laughing at him. We hid him in our home behind the high fence. But it seems we cannot hide him any longer. He is growing, and I wonder how we can make it easier for him to enter into our community." "Oh, that's what it's all about," said the elder who knew everything. "But this is easy. Make some mittens and have the boy wear them in public. Since people assume something is wrong already, tell them that he has weak hands that need protection, and they will accept your boy into the community with no further thought." The father was overjoyed, thanked the elder profusely, went home, and got his wife to make a pair of very pretty mittens for Hank. So here is the father talking with the elder, and then the mittens that they decided to make for the boy. Hank loved his mittens. He also loved when his mother and father opened the gate to take him outside the high fence. He looked in wonder at all these people, big and small, and played with other children for the first time. Years passed. Hank was happy. He was just like every other child in the community, except that he wore his pretty mittens all the time when he was out of his home. Everybody was used to it. They believed Hank's hands were weak and needed extra protection, while Hank believed that he did not need to shock people with his community with the sight of his 6-fingered hands. One day, Hank was out playing with his friends when he saw this new girl he had never seen before. His friends told him that her family just moved into town from a faraway country, that the family were wanderers and could not be trusted. but Hank liked the girl. And the girl was curious about Hank too. For one, he wore mittens. She never saw boys do this before. She never heard Hank's weak hands story, and he was a boy who seemed to like her in the strange new place. Very soon, Hank and the curious girl became friends, spending all their time together, liking each other more and more. And all the time, the curious girl, who was curious about all things, asked Hank all sorts of questions about his hands. So here is she, asking him, wondering about his hands. And then came the day when the curious girl asked to see Hank's hands, that were hidden by the mittens and never seen by anybody else but Hank and his parents. Hank was very hesitant to show his six-fingered hands. His hands were different from what everyone knew hands should be. His hands were ugly because nobody else had 6 fingers. His hands were pale because they had never seen the light of the sun. But the curious, wondering girl took his one hand and, so gently he hardly felt it, pulled the mitten off. And she looked with curiosity and admiration, stroking with the very tips of her 5 fingers every finger of his 6-fingered hand, one by one. And as she stroked his 6 fingers with her 5, there were little bubbles of light appearing between Hank's fingertips and the fingertips of the curious girl. The bubbles of light burst into a million sparkles, healing all the blemishes and scrapes on the curious girl's hands, bringing color to Hank's pale fingers. So here she is pulling off a mitten from Hank's hand. Excited, the curious girl took Hank's other hand, pulled off the other mitten, and held both his hands tightly. She looked into Hank's eyes and said, "Your hands are magical. I've never, ever seen anything like that." And she gave him things to hold with his bare hands. Everything he touched and held became beautiful to her. And when she pointed that out to Hank, Hank noticed how beautiful the curious girl became since holding his bare hands, and he believed her. He took his mittens and threw them far into the bushes, not wanting to wear them ever again, because now he liked his 6-fingered hands as much as the curious girl liked them, and he did not worry anymore what other people might see or say about his hands. He knew now that he could make things beautiful by touching them, and he could not stop touching the curious girl's hands and the tree trunks and blades of grass around them, turning everything more beautiful than ever. Once again, Hank looked into the face of the curious girl that turned beautiful now, and said, "I love you." And the curious girl looked into Hank's eyes and said, "I love you too." Here they are, holding each other's hands right here. And Hank said, "I want you to be with me forever. Will you marry me?" And the curious girl said, "I cannot. My family of wanderers is leaving your town tomorrow. Today is the last time we will see each other." And Hank became very sad and cried. But the curious girl said, "Don't cry, Hank. Keep making your magical beauty, and then wherever I go, I'll see you in everything that's beautiful, and it will make me happy." Hank said yes and hugged the girl, and then turned away and left because he could not bear her turning more and more beautiful with every hug he gave her. But he kept her in his heart ever after, and he never wore his mittens ever again. People around were shocked when they saw his 6-fingered hands, and some took pity on him, and some laughed and pointed their fingers, but he did not care. He touched everything and everybody who stretched their hand out to meet his, and the world around him became more and more beautiful, and people started noticing that. The word about a 6-fingered boy who turned things beautiful spread around, and people, especially girls who wanted to be beautiful, started coming from afar, asking Hank to touch them. He was happy to do that for them, happy to see them turn beautiful and go back home to their families and their grooms with a shiny smile, carrying the beauty he helped create to the far corners of the world. Once in a while, Hank thought about the curious girl, what and who she was curious about now, and whether she was curious about where all this beauty came from, hoping that she would be curious enough about how he was doing and come back to check that out. But he never saw the curious girl again. So that's the end of the first tale. And I hope this end didn't make you sad. And if it did, cry. Crying is good. There are more stories about Hank in this book, and I'm gonna continue reading and making my reading videos. So if you like this, leave me a comment below and share this video with other friends of yours. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.